Hi learners, today we're going to look at a little bit more revision for your Level 2 Learner Achievement Portfolio. We're still going to be looking at the risk assessment. We're going to move on to Task 2, which again is on page 21. So we're looking at this little section in your LAP, your LAP file. So if we look at what's being asked of us, we're asked to identify one of the 4 hazards we've already circled in task 1. So for example, I'm going to choose a loose wire on the floor. I now have to link the loose wire on the floor to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps of risk assessment. Then I have to write on the opposite columns how I'm going to minimize or reduce the risk of somebody becoming injured or harmed by the loose wire on the floor. So if you remember back into the green section in your Level 2 manual, on the end of it, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to risk assessment. So what are they? Can you remember? Let's look at number 1. Number 1 would be identify the hazard. Remember, we have now chosen the hazard would be a loose wire on the floor. So number 1, identify the hazard. In the opposite box, I would write loose wire or loose cable on the floor. Step 2 of risk assessment will be decide who may be harmed by the loose wire on the floor. Decide who may be harmed and how. So on the opposite box, I would write colleagues, clients, and myself could be harmed by the loose cable on the floor. How could I be harmed? I could trip over the loose wire or the loose cable on the floor. Section number 2 or 3 is asking us to evaluate the risk. Is it a low risk? Is it a high risk? Or is it a medium risk? If we look at a high risk, we're expecting somebody to be hospitalized from tripping over the loose wire on the floor. Low risk, there's nothing really to do with the low risk, everything is fine. Or is it medium risk? Somebody could trip over it, they could potentially harm themselves, so we need to do something about it. So if we're looking at probably a medium risk where I have to mitigate or I have to reduce the risk of injury to somebody, then I need to do something about it. So here I would choose medium risk. Then on number 4, I will have to record the findings. So normally in the gym, we have what's called a handover diary. So in the diary, I could write, today I found a loose cable on the floor. I wrapped up that cable and I stored it safely in the storage area in the gym or whatever facility you have. The last part is then to review the assessment and update if necessary. So here I could create an NOP, a normal operating procedure for how we use and store cables in the gym. So if I want to use it, it could be step 1, rule out the cable, plug it in, test it. Step 2 could be use the electrical cable. Step 3 could then, after use, I could wrap up the cable. Step 4, I will then store the cable safely and securely. So step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5, and what we're going to do about it. Okay?